and gentlemen, analysts and associates, welcome to your Managing Director Secretary's favorite podcast, the Big Swinging Decks Podcast by Litquidity and Moran. This is not financial advice. You'd be a bottom bucket analyst to make investment decisions based on what is discussed on this show.
Welcome back to another edition of Big Swinging Decks. Lit, how the hell are you today?
You know, I'm good, Mark. I think for anyone who's watching on our new YouTube channel, they'll see that there's a very scenic backdrop, and we'll have them guessing where I'm at.
Well, you know, I want to inquire as to where you are, but, you know, first, let's kind of run through what we have on the pod today. You know, it's going to be a good episode because one of the things we love to do is hear all of our shareholders' feedback and what you guys like, what you guys don't like. And we have gotten feedback that people's favorite episodes are the ones that were answering shareholder questions. And so we figured we gave you a great interview with Lydia from the New York Post last week. And we'll come this week with just answering some shareholder questions, run through them, talk about what's going on, give you a little inside baseball. But first, let's talk about CoinFlex, and specifically hear me talk about it. But this is now exciting because we can officially start to actually explain the product, show people what is going on, because CoinFlex US just expanded into the United States as of Friday.
So, Mark, you had yourself quite a weekend, didn't you? Where were you again?
Well, I was in Miami for the Bitcoin conference from Wednesday to Saturday, and it was quite the time, Lit. Quite the time. We missed you there.
Yeah, I've only heard stuff from Slack and through photos, but you know, you're telling me for the first time right now because I want to know. But why don't you tell the audience how it was and what you got up to?
You know, it was a phenomenal time to just see the community of Bitcoin in its place. We spent a lot of time at the Ledger House. They had this great waterfront house. Got to meet with the CEO, Pascal, talked to a bunch of people there and kind of see what they were up to. We had dinner there the first night, hung out with them throughout the second and third days. But it was a great time going to the conference. I rode a mechanical bull 2 times, both times 26 and 27 seconds respectively. So
consistency.
Don't worry. Like, yeah, it was. I was wearing a suit while doing it, so people were impressed.
But it wasn't the new charging bull, right? Like the Bitcoin bull.
You know what? Great point. Because so for everyone who knows the Wall Street bull, that bull has testicles. Now, in Miami, there was a kind of a new age avant-garde bull. And, you know, I went to look, right, obviously, as one does when you see a bull in the street, and I did not see any testicles. And, you know, I asked Mayor Suarez, and he was like, look, that's not up to me. That's just, you know, the people sponsored. I had nothing to do with it, so can't blame him. But, you know, we're looking into it. I was trying to slap an exec some sticker and wasn't able to.
So funny thing, like, I just got tagged in a tweet that explains why it doesn't have balls. So this was from TradeStation. I think they were the ones that partnered up with whoever to make the bull. And this tweet that I'm seeing from BTC Archive said, the Miami Bulls balls were removed on orders from TradeStation, the trading platform that commissioned it, to avoid feeding the gendered stereotypes about finance. I had designed some huge mechanical balls, said the artist. So, you know, I think that's some fucked up shit.
So they castrated the bull. So
they castrated the bull.
Castrated the bull is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's no longer a bull then, right? Isn't it a cow at that point?
Is that how I don't honestly, like, the only experience I have with farm animals was I went on a field trip in, like, the 4th grade to Mount Vernon, George Washington's home, and I remember me and my buddy, this kid used to work at RBC, yeah, maybe he's listening. I don't know. But me and my buddy, initials RS, we went over and we were yanking the like ring in the bull's nose. And I just remember my mom, who was a chaperone, come running over with the 4th grade teacher. And they're like, what has gotten into you guys? We're like, I don't know. They're like, do you know that's a bull? Like, no, it's just we thought it was funny. And then looking back, it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I did. Idiot. Dumbass.
Damn.
But you know, that's interesting. It kind of reminds me of like when what bank was it that put the little girl in front of the bull?
Oh, I don't know. You're talking about the fearless girl.
Yeah, was it State Street or something? Where it's like they're talking about women's empowerment, but then they like had one of the like least, or maybe there were no women on the board, or like one. There was some issue with their gender disparity. It's like, okay, yeah, great signaling thing. Why don't you guys do it at your own company? You know.
Yeah, let's get some real fucking change, not some performative shit.
Cancel culture, right? And
Yes, sir.
actually, one thing I'll say is, so, we've talked a little bit about this group on FinTwit, right? That they, they're rowdy, they're pretty entertaining. I actually met with a member, one of the leaders of these groups of individuals, and honestly, I think we had some drinks. We had more than some. I think listen, we have kind of boots on the ground. We have the voice of Wall Street, and as much as we all may fight, it's like a family. You can fight inside the house, but you never want to take it outside the doorstep. We just like to do it on Twitter, but it's so fun. God, I love it. I love Twitter arguments.
Twitter's not real life, as you said before.
Yeah, when you get mad at me for like fucking, I was like in a heated thing with like a guy with like 3 followers. I'm like, no, I'm just suck my ass, like just going off, and you're like, grow up. That was probably appropriate in hindsight, but when you're in the moment, you never know. So
I get it. I've been there. Yeah.
I got moving on. I got a few things to talk to you about, because I feel like I was kind of a forerunner in terms of CNN Plus jokes, right? And I feel like you're kind of stealing my stride with CNN Plus jokes. I'm just kidding, but in terms of the news that came out, and so as you know, they spent $350 million, and they're getting less than 10,000 people a day. Could you imagine? More people look at my Instagram story than that.
Yeah, I mean, same here, right?
That's me, let alone you.
Yeah, it doesn't require 300 million to put up 10,000 views. Like, that is some fucking pathetic stuff. And as I tweeted out, like, anyone could have told them and saved them 300 million, like, from the get-go, knowing it's going to flop. Like, no one needs another Plus. Like, there's Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. Who the fuck's like gonna get everything? And then they like paywall some shit that maybe like the only thing that hooks you onto it, and then you'll cancel in a month. So,
well, it's funny. I don't know if I've told you part of the story. I don't know if you know the full story, but at one point I was thinking about going to work at CNN Plus, because I had been walking with one of the Jareds from F-Boy Island, right by the right by Hudson Yards. What's the thing called there? I always call it the Oculus, and I get confused, but it's not that.
You mean the shawarma?
Yeah. What is that called? There's a name to it. Like, I look at it every day from the gym.
The chicken shawarma.
No, but there's a name.
No, it's the vessel. The vessel.
Yeah, which is the name. But yeah. So we're walking right there, and I'm like, yo, I think that's John Kasich. And like, he's filming a kind of a teaser reel for his show on CNN Plus. So we go over, like, talking to him, blah, blah, blah. His agent, like, loved me. And so talking to her, and then I'm kind of pitching this idea of like what we're doing now. And she's like, nah, that's not going to work. Shirtless pics, like your online persona. It's just, that's not it. And it's like, okay, fuck it. Like, we'll just go do it ourselves, and we'll do it better. And that's what we're doing fucking right now. So I think we're right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw fucking Jake Tapper is like interviewing someone. It's like, okay, so I need to pay to have Jake Tapper interview someone, which he does for free on regular CNN cable. Like, I don't know. So.
Screw it.
Quibi 2.0.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Brother Jimmy's is shutting down. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and I think we should save him. Yeah, I think we should save him. It shouldn't be that much
DAO?
to. We could do a DAO. BJ DAO is with people thrown out there, and
BJ DAO.
BJ DAO. Yeah, you can raise a couple mil and prop it up, and it's like
how much
raise
do you
it
think
from
we need?
That I don't know. I haven't been in restaurant distress comps in a while, Mark. So.
Yeah. I mean, I never have been. Actually. I kind of have been slightly with a certain company that it's either going to be later this week or early next week. We're going to have a big announcement about us doing a little investor relations for a publicly traded company and doing something for the first time ever. So stay tuned for that, because you may have thought we were just a meme page, but this is just another fucking vertical that we have extended our what do you call tentacles into? That's what an octopus has, right? Tentacles. I was gonna say talons, like, do the chickens have large talons? But no, it's tentacles.
Tentacles. Squidward tentacles. Yes.
Squidward. Sandy cheeks. But yeah, so we got something big with that. But let's start off with some of these questions, right? And I feel like this first one, I want to ask you because I think this is a unique one, and we're both going to have kind of different takes on it. So, someone asked us, what comes first, the housing bubble 2.0 or student loan debt goes belly up? Which is a really interesting question because, like, it feels like something's about to break, right? With inflation being just through the roof, and we'll get to that in a minute. But like, what's your thought process on these two options?
Yeah, I would lean towards the housing bubble popping first, just because there's been so much talk, from certain Democrats to cancel student debt, right? So I think like they would solve something there, and like prioritizing education in the, like the population needs education. Obviously, the population needs housing too, but I think the part that you can't really cancel as easily as like mortgages, right? Because it's not just giant landlords that own buildings. It's individuals that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears and buying stuff. And not to sound like a landlord bootlicker, but hey, they've got bills to pay, and everything gets unsustainable. That shit pops, and you got 2008 again. But that's just my guess. I'm not close to the economic data. I'm not a big macro guy. That's just my
more of a
gut.
micro.
Yeah, big small micro guy. Big micro
guy.
Yeah,
small. I like that. Well, it's funny because it's like too with fucking houses, right? Like, so it's been an inflated housing market, but then now, with what the mortgage rates have been, jumping up to, it's like who's gonna, like, what idiot would take out a mortgage right now and do that? I mean, I personally wouldn't, but the side of this that I can speak more closely to is the student loan portion, which, like, honestly, I mean, I think the concept of fucking just ending student debt, right? It's kind of like taking from one hand and feeding, or whatever, robbing from Peter to pay for Paul, whatever the fuck the expression is. You guys know what I'm saying out there, shareholders. They get it. But someone's gonna have to pay for it, right? And so it's just gonna be us through taxes. So it's like, I mean, it would be infuriating to me, like, as someone who paid off a shit ton of loans that I took for grad school off, to then like have other people like who just you do the minimum, like that's it, just have massive amounts of money wiped off. I think I definitely feel sympathy and think there's an argument to be made for wiping out the undergraduate only student loans for say individuals making less than $75,000 or something like that, right? Like, I think that is whatever, and we're already in a shit ton of debt. Like, there's I feel sympathy for that. Like, not saying we should do it, but like I can see the logic with it. But if it's just everything, I mean, it's wild. Like, there was the few statistics that just stick out in my head is something like it was either 7 or 10% of just email addresses that the Department of Education has, and these like loan companies have, like they're just not active anymore. So it's like, all right, write that off. And the amount of like delinquent people, like, God, I mean, someone could find better stats than we can, but like it's just wild. Like, and the government has this like on the books as kind of like an asset, right? And it's like, yo, like that's not all money that's coming in. Like, you're going to be lucky if that happens. And so, it is an industry that there are private institutions who are involved in like the collection of the debt and servicing of it. And, like it's going to be fascinating to kind of see. You get someone like Bernie, and, you have continued uprest in society. Who fucking knows what happens?
That's what will lead to a Bernie or someone pretty radical being elected is some fucking like bubble that bursts, or it's on the cusp of bursting, and people are like, fuck this, like something's just got to change. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like one of them is actually gonna blow up, and yeah, that's pretty heavy right now. So should we move on to the next one, which I think is not any less heavy, but let's see, the inflation, right? 8.5%.
Let's talk about inflation.
Yeah, the headline number for March year over year is 8.5% from the CPI report that came out yesterday. This was April 12th at the time of us recording this, and it's like, that is the highest it's been in 40 years. So like, what do you do in this environment? Like, how are you thinking about this, Mark? Do you think about it, or are you affected?
Yeah,
Do you
I mean,
change your lifestyle, like order one less drink at Fiddlesticks?
we're all affected, right? And I mean, I think the way I kind of think about it is that I have been thinking about it, like having the worst job I ever had was when I was a server at a country club in college part time. It was just like fucking miserable. But that was like back in Virginia when like the minimum wage for servers was like $2.15. And so if you weren't getting like, 20% on everything, you're barely making the minimum, which was like $7.65 or something at the time. So, I mean, I think about it from like if I'm at Fiddlesticks, right? Like I'm going to tip more than 20% because if you have the luxury of eating out and doing anything that there is a service provider, which is funny because, we in our ex lives, like we were service providers, and the majority of people listening to this podcast are service providers, but different types. So
And we also like to eat out.
Yeah, right. And if you're gonna do that, I think compensate the individuals who are serving you, fairly, kind of understanding, that you're fortunate to have a little bit more disposable income. That's kind of how I think about it. So I've been tipping more, but yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, maybe you're having one less drink, or you're going out, one less time a week, but it's just kind of it's one of those things where who knows how long this is going to continue, and it's like saying, oh, hey, it's the war, it's this one thing. It's like no. This is like a combination of a lot of systemic things that will continue to rage on. And, it's a tough thing. Hopefully it doesn't get to like it was, when Reagan had to step in with Reaganomics and just, squash that. But yeah, it's interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, and that you bring up a good point with Reagan and politics, because there was a good tweet that I saw from Jack Dorsey, one of the co-founders of Twitter, where he said, or he was responding to a CNBC tweet that said, White House says it expects inflation to be extraordinarily elevated in new report. So he said, every administration, Republican or Democrat, has an opportunity to build trust with the public. Instead, every single time they choose deception and zero accountability. It's not the party, it's the system. And I think that's what like really, cuts both ways, where like a lot of people are so deep into their political party affiliation that they can't see like, hey, like, when Trump was in office, he was like saying, oh, like everything's fine, whatever. And same here, like Biden, like trying to blame it all on Putin and ignoring like everything else that's going on. And, it's definitely something that just, hey, someone needs to take accountability in the government and say like, look, admit that there's a fucking problem and try to figure out ways to do it without, like sugarcoating it or deceiving the people. And everything's kind of at this point where no one trusts the government. So why not try to be truthful and upfront for once? But yeah, like I that's a huge tangent. I'd say in terms of just like what people have been asking is how to invest in this environment. Like obviously like there's the checking accounts that I've been railing on, that's like 0.01% APY that you get for storing your money, and like you're losing that percentage every year. And the stock market right now, obviously that is not going to be down forever, I hope, but it's underperforming the everything right now. It's down across the board. And what I like personally, and this is something that I've been doing for about 2 years now, is putting money in stablecoin that through providers that pay you yields off them, and they're like 8 to 10%. And I'm like, all right, that seems pretty stable to me. Obviously, knowing that there's some risk to it, but if you are comfortable with that, like you're comfortably making 8 to 10%. Which that's outpacing inflation. And so that's where I'm like pretty heavily invested right now, but then also in startups, which, I think that being illiquid, it's not going to fluctuate, day to day or whatever. And hopefully, I mean, the whole name of the game is like betting on moonshots. One of those things really becomes a unicorn and pays for all of my fuck ups and all of the inflation eroding the purchasing power. So that's
well, and
yeah.
probably a good time to talk about our sponsor and kind of what they have going on with these APYs that do outpace inflation through the basis trade that they're working on. So there's a lot of opportunity out there to be able to beat it. You actually, I feel like you were tweeting about this recently the other day, because there was something with like an inflation savings bond or some shit that I saw. I don't know. I don't really fully read everything.
There
was a
was
lot of stuff, right? Limited inflation.
I hadn't heard about this, but people were commenting underneath that tweet about the 0.01% checking accounts stuff, and they're like, oh, like invest in Series I savings bonds, and I was like, okay, I had to look that up, and it's this bond that adjusts to protect the principal dollar value from eroding under inflation. So, that's essentially just, hey, like whatever inflation is, like this bond is going to be adjusting the rate that it pays out to make sure that, you're protected from inflation. So I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But then when you look into it, you can only have up to 10 grand as an individual.
Oh, okay. So there's a cap of it.
Yeah, there's a cap. And it's like, okay, well, if you have like 6 figures or more, like in your total net worth, you're like, okay, well, what good is 10 grand in the grand scheme of things? And like, okay, what about, if I have 100 grand, like what do I do with the other 90K? So that's, something cool. If you're out there, like check out the savings bonds or Series I savings bonds. But yeah, I mean, stable coins are where I'm going. Some people I've learned are very adamantly, against crypto. They're like, it's all fucking Ponzi scheme.
Whatever,
I'm trying to help out. I'm like, look, this shit's paying 8%. You don't have to do much. It's collateralized, but they're like, yo, fuck that. You're a shill, you're a fucking clown, whatever. I'm like, okay, look, whatever.
So, it's fascinating. Like the stances on crypto, both like within the crypto community and outside it. It's similar to politics, right? Where like people like get so embedded in their own viewpoint. And there's actually this great like long form editorial I was reading in the Atlantic the other day, and it was talking about how historically, we've had fewer news sources than we have now, right? And so what that meant is that there were only so many places you could go to be informed, and that one that would obviously make people less polarized, but you'd also have to engage in more debate and have to actually like have your opinions kind of confronted and be able to use logic and reason to defend what your positions are and your understandings. And now we live in such kind of a hyper-partisan environment where there's so many different news outlets and communities online that you can just isolate yourself without ever having to kind of address an opposing viewpoint. And you can just say, oh, you're a shell, screw fuck Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. Or, fuck Democrats, fuck Republicans, like, whatever, right? And so it's just it's a fascinating thing to think about it that way, instead of like engaging in debate, because that obviously never works on Twitter, like an actual informed debate. Like
I like when I started using social media, I picked up on that. It's like, why is everyone so angry? And like when you go out with friends, or you go to a party, or you meet someone, like you're just chit chatting with them, and if there is something opposing, for the most part, like I would run into people that are like, oh, like, respectfully, I think that's wrong, and like explain why. And it's like, oh, I can understand where they're coming from too. But on Twitter, on Instagram, it's just like, wait, what? You're a fucking Biden supporter? Like you're a fucking lib cuck? Or like, if you're a Trumper, you get the same shit. And it's, hey, maybe there's some good shit that's that makes sense from some and the others and whatever. But yeah, I like to give the benefit of the doubt and hear all parties and be as informed as possible. So that is, off topic. But should we get back into the shareholders' questions?
Back after a little ramble. All right. So, and this is like much more relevant to kind of our younger shareholder base that cohort, is about to start internships. And so, I've gotten a lot of questions about kind of what the dress code is, stuff like that, which I think let's do a little separate pod on, just kind of interview, the best practices, right? But this one...
sorry, for that episode, let's definitely do that, like, right when the interns are about to hit the desk, and, like, and they're gearing up. They've got their dad's Jose Bank, like, extra large suit, that untailored, but yeah, okay. Anyway, let's get into it. Sorry for cutting you off.
Hey, you know what? All is good here. All is good. I was actually reading my Twitter DMs about something we're going to talk about in a second. But okay, I'll ask you this question. So someone says to us, are target schools still relevant, or can anyone get into investment banking nowadays? And I feel like people have picked up on the fact that you went to what one would call a target school, and I went to what one would not call a target school, at least for undergrad. I think UVA is probably considered a target school now.
Yeah, definitely.
But what do you think?
Yeah.
With your kind of looking down from your ivory tower at the rest of us.
I would say, yeah, obviously it's still fucking relevant. Like, you know, there's still a desire for the banks to source, you know, talent from the quote unquote tried and true pipelines. And like, where else are you going to go? I mean, you can't go wrong going to the highly ranked schools where the kids have the highest SAT scores, good GPAs, and they just tend to overachieve. And that's not to say that if you don't go to these schools that you have no shot. It's just it's still heavily weighted towards that type of stuff. But you know, there's these other schools like Indiana, there's Michigan, there's
Indiana always has good placement.
Yeah, they have an investment banking, I think, undergrad program or some shit like that.
Getting to anyone in Bloomington out there.
And so it's like there are more schools
there's some good, you know, target adjacent, if you will. But I also feel like
target adjacent.
Target adjacent. But I don't know. I'm a very strong believer in you know, like not preparing for what your career will be, like trying to learn the broadest range of stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, there's historically, most people would go to liberal arts school, you know, and then go on like immediately after to get an MBA and start to specialize in something. But I think there's power, you know, in going to a Williams and Amherst, an SCAC school, and, you know, doing something random in you know, being a sociology major like I was with finance. But, you know, there's something to it. But I also think it's like in trying to force, you know, yourself to be one thing and only focusing on that in learning in college, it can definitely take away from your overall experience. And, you know, I think potentially make it so that you're focused and on something that, you know, maybe another opportunity would come your way. And like we've talked about this all the time with, you know, this new world of Web3, with everything that's going on. You know, there's so much out there that you don't have to be you don't have to fall into this traditional mold, I feel like. And that actually is the perfect segue into this next question that I want to talk about, because there are these videos on TikTok that are like day in the life of investment banking analysts that have started to go viral. And one of the commentaries that I've seen consistently throughout is, you know, one, like obviously is this stuff, you know, is it planned? Is it whatever? And it seems like sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But more importantly, people are like, you know, how can they get away with it? Is this something that just, you know, the competition is so tough for you know, these firms to get people in that they allow this to go on? And I kind of feel like what happened with COVID, I was thinking about this like yesterday when I was just walking around and it hit me, and it's like I think COVID was kind of the catalyst that essentially changed. You know, prior to that, and you and I both thought this way too, like there was this set path that you had to pursue and this set way that you had to act, especially in an office, right, to fit the mold. And now with COVID having happened, with people having taken a step back and looked at their lives and, you know, their workplaces and all of that, I think people realize that there's a lot of ways to be successful and that you don't have to do this stereotypical path. You don't have to be the stereotype of someone to succeed in a corporate environment, and that these larger corporations are starting to realize, like, okay, you know, if we do actually want to have diversity gender-wise, racially, you know, in the workplace, we're going to have to start changing how things are done. And I almost kind of see these videos and it's like, listen, as long as no one gets fired, like, I think that's a great way to kind of start a dialogue about things. But then like I just alluded to, I was getting these messages on TikTok that apparently one of the most recent ones, it was staged and it's not going over well because, you know, there's a lot of commentary on the internet, obviously, because what else is FinTwit going to do?
Oh, yeah. Was this the PJ Solomon or?
This was at RBC, from what I've been told.
Oh, RBC. Okay. Yeah.
The Royal Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
Who would in Loki of Canada? Kidding. I don't know. They're good.
Yeah, look, I'd say that some of them are clearly planned. obviously the ones that have been the most planned are like the UBS ones, where it's the day in life, and what is it, that corporate Natalie chick who was like, I get to the office and then I take a break and yoga in the middle of the day, and
makes
Bull
sense.
and
Is that
Bear,
like one
what's
of
the
those
question?
UBS videos?
Yeah, it was so
It's
bad.
like, hey, corporate Natalie, where's the heart palpitations? All right, where's the, like, you're sweating at your desk because you're so stressed about something. Like, where's that? Because that's clearly like different experiences. Maybe UBS is just like a much better place to work, and I missed that memo.
Oh no, I can confirm it's not through personal sources that have said keep an on many times to me.
One of the funny things about UBS is, so at Centerview, Blair Efron, who's one of the co-founders, he just took the color scheme from UBS. So he left in like 06, 07. So he takes that and now it's they, because I don't work there anymore. They still use that. So it's like, dude, we'd be showing up to on a fucking primary color scale. There would be purple. There would be pink. And I'd look at this and it's like, and most people just use different shades of blues and stuff, but this font that we would use, it was called Gill Sans MT, and it just looks so stupid. And even clients would be like, what? Like, what? Like, Lazard paid a consulting group $2 million to come up with their custom font, which is Garamond. Well, they've always used Garamond. Then there's an issue that someone saw a deck on a plane, and so they made it so now only the headings are Garamond. Everything else is Arial, whatever. Someone's going to tell me I pronounced it wrong. I don't care. So whichever way you pronounce it. But the font is called Cephalopod. And like literally, you can go in and match that and get the RBG color, RGB, whatever it is.
Who gives a flying fuck about that though?
But you know when I'm like, use the dark Lazard navy on our website and stuff, I just fucking ripped that from Lazard. Dude.
Yeah,
it's
that costs $0.
That's ours now. Thank you, Ken Jacobs and Lazard.
Thank you to designers that they paid too.
But like, that's wild, right? And one time, one of the clients was like, literally, you guys can only get away with this because it's Centerview, and it'd be like for the biotech pitches, it was just one slide, and that was it. At like the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, and it just looked, it's like pink, nuts. All right, we're rambling. Actually, I have a question for you.
Yep.
So you started getting into the F1 racing show recently, and you've been tweeting your ass off about it, and a lot of people have messaged me, so I can only imagine how many have messaged you about sponsoring a car. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
well, I mean, the show is fucking amazing. Like, I'd never watched anything Formula One and had no interest in it, and up until like people were talking about the show and just kept being served, you might like on Netflix, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm hungover, throw this on, and I'm like, I got hooked instantly. And after that, like, just was like, I think it'd be really cool to put a logo on one of the cars, or like a driver's uniform or something, because if you've seen these cars, they're like a walking billboard, or the drivers too, right? Every little square inch is a logo, and I'm like, I would love to just figure out if that's even possible for us to put something there. And I think it's, a lot of the audience is into this type of stuff. And like, if you see the culture around F1, it's all about champagne. It's all about fast cars, yachts and shit. Like if you go to Monaco, so what better?
Oh yeah, no. When I was in Monaco last, I remember it just they were setting up for the race. It was going to be like a week or so after I was there. The amount of Credit Suisse ads that were there is just wild. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, dude, how sick would it be if we get on a car? But I've been like, or people are hitting me up saying, oh, I know someone at Mercedes or Ferrari. I'm like, all right, chill. Like, we're not IPO'd, like multi-billion-dollar company with hundreds of millions in marketing spend. So like, why don't we go down to the Williams or the Haas Racings of the world that are struggling to even get sponsors and stay alive. So got some intros there and looking to follow up with them. But so if you see a small logo or a little "this guy fucks" face or something on a car, let's slap a Bart P. Fucks on. Do you want to tell a story about Bart P. Fucks?
No. All right. Yeah, this is for the next one.
We'll save it for another time. That's one of my favorite stories. My parents love that story. They're like, no idea what you guys are doing, but it seems to be working for now. So keep it up.
So funny thing is that when I asked the shareholders for questions to submit, someone's like, all right, let's hear that story. I'm still waiting for last time. So we'll keep them waiting until the next one. 'Cause it's a good one.
Yeah, we'll keep them waiting on that one. All right. So we went through that one. Then how about this one? So, and again, I'll go with your perspective first. How screwed is this person as a non-target interning at a bulge bracket?
I mean, like, it's yours.
So they have the job.
Yeah, it's yours to fuck up. So, like, just do the job and you'll get the offer. I think, like, that's plain and simple. What's your take on that?
No one cares where you went to school at all. Yeah. It's like that's like the biggest misnomer I think that gets put out there. Like no one is ever going to look down at you for having gone to Indiana. Maybe no one just says it to my face, but look, I'm kidding. But no one's ever going to like look down at you for that. And honestly, like you would all like when I was at Lazard, the best kid in the healthcare group as an analyst went to Indiana actually. And by far better than the kids that went to Duke, that went to the fucking life sciences program at Wharton. Like those fucking kids sucked ass. It's like, wait, there's like a life science like finance pro, like what the fuck? It's like I don't know what like life sciences is, number one. I barely know what finance is, and you like nerds are learning that at like 20 years old. Like get the fuck out of here. And so those kids always sucked because the kids from a different background that it takes more grit and kind of resilience to be successful. Like those were the ones who like were the hardest workers because like we've talked about, this stuff's not hard. It's algebra 2. It's calculus, right? Max, and it's something that work ethic gets you very, very far. So like I would say wear it with a badge of honor. Like that's almost why I was so excited to make the non-target stuff, because I think like that's something to be super proud of, that you earned your spot there. And like you're saying, it's yours to lose. So just go and perform. Don't feel the imposter syndrome. I mean, you're going to, but just, reach out to us. We'll guide you through it, but just know that you earned it, and that should really give you some inner strength to be able to pursue it in any challenges that arise.
We should give out some of these non-targets to some non-targets who actually have some really good stories. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, wait, let's do this. Okay, non-target, send us to the BSD Instagram messages. Send us your best non-target story, and then we'll give away some merch to you guys. Nice idea.
Good shit. All right, so let's see what's this next one here. Oh, does your employer know you do this, Mark?
Well, you're my employer.
So someone asked me that. I'm like, all right, like maybe this guy has missed it, but I left my job over a year ago and I'm my own employer now. So, I know that I'm doing this. So that question,
like I was just laughing at it, like sitting at a dinner yesterday with the CEO of a company that's 500 to $1 billion, let's call it market cap, and then 2 board members. And, I'm sitting there talking about the memes that we make, like what we do, what our vision is, just seeing the guy nod along. And, this is kind of leads into the announcement that we're going to have of just like, we're creating kind of the future of this stuff now. And some people see it, some people get it. And it was just like awesome to, have that moment where it's like, man, this professional risk that we've taken that, sometimes we're serious. Most of the times we're joking around and making, massively inappropriate jokes. But, the seriousness of this and kind of the business acumen side of this is starting to show through. And it kind of, it makes you realize like, man, something that really no one else saw except for us, like it's starting to show through, and like couldn't be, prouder to kind of, have the mainstream of people see that. And like, that's part of like, we riff on CNN Plus and stuff like that, because like, we're definitely like looked at, by them as like, these little kids like who are fucking around, like, fraternity guys, like gone wild or whatever. Like, but, there's a lot of, I think, serious stuff here. And that's something that I think a lot of the shareholders, majority of the shareholders, but, a lot of people outside that are starting to understand too. And, that's all from your vision, that you started, I guess, 5.5 years ago now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to put it. And I think that, just to take this back, it's like, I mean, I never thought there would be an opportunity to make a business out of shit posting, but here we are. And, there's actual value. Yeah, here we are. And if you look at the Twitter venture capital landscape, it hasn't really worked its way up to investment banking, business, or private equity or anything like that. But venture capitals realize this, that memes and just in general, like people with audiences that they can speak to and have, engagement over is very valuable, because at the end of the day, it's marketing. And if you can just like partner up with the right people and get the message out, instead of like paying for Instagram ads or Facebook or YouTube, Google, whatever, like all those platforms are raising rates. It's, hey, why don't we go direct to someone who people enjoy listening to and like get an organic fit, right? Like we're not partnering with dildos. I think what we said in the first episode, right? Like there's these sex toy companies we're never like going to do stuff with.
Use code Litquidity for 20% off.
Okay, fine. We did that once, but
it was one time. It was one time for a joke.
For a joke, for a holiday gift list. But
that's the best part. You just be like, I was joking. It was just a joke. It was performance art.
But the code actually worked. But it's all to say, like, it works best if you know your audience and you can speak to them. So, I'll put that bow on that question. But just to, I guess, well, not to reopen the bow and then I'll tie it again, is to say that when I was working, my employers did not know that. So, I mean, it was all about keeping it secret and not getting fired.
Well, and I mean, there's a very interesting part of your story that you haven't told that, someday people will get to know and understand about the lengths that you would go to for content, which one day we'll let that go. But actually, there's a question that was submitted by a shareholder that is much more relevant to you. And it's, was moving to private equity what you expected? And, for me, never made that move. So have nothing to say there. So all you, baby, let's go.
It was kind of what I expected. The thing is, like, you kind of just hear from your friends and whatever, but you're not going to know it until you're actually in the seat. And it's very dependent at the shop you're at and, all these other things. But I will say, people always say there's a little more autonomy and, you do less busy work. To those points, I'll say, yes, that's exactly what I expected. And that's how it was. So I fucking love that. But what people don't know is that it's still fucking stressful. It's, there's a shit ton of responsibility that comes with it that you don't really, I mean, you do have it in banking, but it's just like a different kind of like mentality that you go into it, where it's like, hey, we are investing people's money. Like, that's different, where it's like you're making a decision.
There's more consequences to it. There's more risk.
Yeah.
Because like banking,
it's higher level.
VP, there's this VP that I worked with. He's now an MD at a certain bank, and he basically just does sponsor stuff, right? And I remember him just being like, well, this job, it is just the most risk-free, stable way to make the most money, and like, to me, it's just like, bro, like, give me the riskiest way to make a lot of money and have a lot of fun, rather than just like, well, this is the most stable way to make, it's just, it's wild. But so there's more money in PE, historically at least, with the massive amounts of carry that people have been granted, which obviously isn't the same as it is, for junior employees a lot now. But, there's more ways to kind of make money in PE than there is in banking, where it's just, fee for service. But it's one of those things that I think too, this just pipeline, the 2 and 2 idea of 2 years as a banking analyst and 2 years in private equity. That's also something, I wish more people were able to kind of think maybe that isn't just, the best path. And maybe that there are other opportunities, and to kind of keep your head up while you're in your analyst role, and think, hey, being an investment banking analyst is going to be great training, obviously, as we've talked about. But hey, maybe you want to go do VC, maybe you want to go do some like specified like BD role at a company you like, or go like work in the fucking metaverse. Like I was getting drinks with like one of my ex analysts from Centerview, who works for the Block now, Greg, and we were just fucking around, like we're at the roof of the one hotel. He takes a picture and he's like, I'm just gonna post this on LinkedIn. And then he's like, great to see another Centerview Partners alumni in a media exit or something like that. And we're just laughing because like there was one time, I posted this on Twitter the other day, but there was one time I posted something on LinkedIn when I was at Centerview, and I was like, proud to have advised X company on X, whatever deal. So I got reamed out. And they're like, we don't.
Oh,
we
you
don't
did?
do
You
this
were
here.
that kind of guy?
No, I did it one
Wow.
time because
Okay.
everyone else, like from the other banks we were working with, like we were working with
I see.
Goldman and
Okay.
stuff, and like
Yeah.
everyone was doing it, and like even people on the deal team I was on, but it was someone else on another deal team. It was actually this VP that I was just talking about, and he's like, "We don't do." It's like, bro, it's a LinkedIn status. Like, suck my ass, you know. And look at us now. So anyway,
I hope he's listening to this, and
Yeah,
I don't know him, but suck my fucking ass too.
suck it. With that, let's roll in the appendix because I have been like I've just been giggling at this. For it came out a few days ago on finance Twitter, which let me just say, let me actually start with the edit that this guy said because this is on. So it originated on Reddit, but I noticed it on Twitter, and so the guy comments. He goes, "Edit. Those of you DMing me / commenting offering to buy my X product, there is 0% chance I'm doing business with anyone autistic enough to use this subthread. Somehow, we would find a way to both lose massive money. Also, my suggested ad targeting today was for an autism clinical trial. So, that was on Twitter.
Says a lot. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do post. Sometimes I make up stuff on Twitter. Like I'll make up rap lyrics and then just put a random rapper just to see if people will like it and like believe it. And like sometimes people will be like, "Yo, Fat Joe ain't it." I'm like, "Bro, I just made that. I was literally like on a plane making up rap lyrics." And like it's a very big social experiment for me. Okay, let's get into it. So are we ready for this? All right, let's see if I can do this without laughing. All right, and then I want your opinion afterwards because I'm gonna start laughing.
Okay.
So I went a bit overboard with DCE JD contracts. Fresh hen egg futures is what those are. Commodities, real, you know, like these are things in real life, right? So, okay, the guy goes, I took a bunch of drugs and my friend had a bird and I don't know why, but it made me think a bird flu strain coming this year. So I got a shit ton of contracts, which is the best fucking sentence I've ever read in my life. I took a bunch of drugs and my friend had a bird and I don't know why, but yeah. So then I got egg futures contracts. So turns out he hit the lottery as farmers across the nation massacred their chicken stocks because of the bird flu. He got in about 3,750 3,750 a contract, and then he cashed out at $4,400 a contract. But apparently he did not get out of all of his contracts, and now he has people contacting him saying that he has to take physical delivery of 10 contracts. And so a contract is 5 metric tons of eggs. He notes that I live in an apartment. I cannot take delivery of 50 tons of eggs. What do I do? 4 question marks. I made a killing so I can hire whoever I need to make this go away. But can someone help me? Question mark. I do not want 50 tons of eggs coming to my door. Would it be illegal for me to list delivery address as the nearest Federal Reserve building? 3 question marks. For reference / perspective, they're between approximately 1,174 and 2,381 dozen eggs in a single ton. This is a McKinsey case interview.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
That puts me at approximately 720,000 to 1.2 million eggs that are coming to his doorstep. I'm really stressing out over the logistics of how the fuck I ship out this amount of eggs to shelters. It would have to be so many shelters.
Oh,
that is
that is wild. You know, the first thing I thought about was our dear friend who is on Twitter, who solely talks about self-storage. So can you imagine you rent out his entire facility and just store your damn eggs there?
Well, and then what if you only paid 1 month? And so for those of you who don't know, there's this self-storage guy who just blocked. Like, he apparently pays his admin to block people, and one of our colleagues, Jack Rains, was going to drag through the mud by him. But I'm also blocked because I liked it. Apparently, even if you like a post that is anti-self-storage guy, you're out of there. You're blocked. So I'm blocked. I'm sure you're blocked, but you know.
No, I'm not. Not yet.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, there goes my point.
No, but
so
okay.
What would you do in this situation if you had 1 million eggs coming to your apartment in New York City?
Yeah,
Time to move.
I think move to the Midwest, where you can get like 20-acre the property for what, like $1 million or something like that. Might be off there, but I would do something like that, or maybe, like I said jokingly just now, the whole self-storage thing, where maybe like if there's a self-storage with freezers or refrigeration rather, that would be the move. And you can just become your own fucking chicken egg dealer. So
when I was in high school and we would egg places, this also happened a few times in college, but it was mostly in high school. I'd use this excuse, and you'd walk in and they'd be like, why are you getting so many eggs on a Friday night? It's like, oh, we're making a big omelet for my church. And as a former altar boy, I did go to church, but we definitely didn't make the omelets, definitely egg some houses. But I don't know. I think it would be, honestly, this is probably a fucked up thing to say, but like, I think like whoever your worst enemy is, or like an ex that you hate, just send them all to their place. That would be so funny. That'd be like, I'm sorry. That's just funny. That's just trucks showing up of eggs. Like that, and have someone film it. Like if this happens, film it. We need it. We'll send people out there to film it. Like if this is going on, if anyone has any further detail, because like I just want, you can make this little Netflix like thing.
You make it that, you can put it on YouTube, TikTok, Reels, all like that stuff.
Speaking about YouTube, we're on YouTube now. This is going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and like for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcast, as you say,
wherever you get
you will see my beautiful background that is actually not a green screen. This is a actual backdrop of the ocean and some mountains. It's fucking sick.
So last thing before we go is, speaking of wherever you get your podcast, I was looking at the stats by country the other day, because we are a Team Fuck Russia podcast, and there were 17 downloads in Russia last week. I'm wondering how do we prevent that from happening? I don't want the people there to be able to listen to the beautiful sounds of our voices and the massive amount of information about egg contracts, egg futures that we're giving people. We got to stop it, guys. It's been a great episode answering some questions. Please DM us from the non-targets with the best non-target story in the Instagram messages, and we'll take it from there. Sorry, to burp. Yes.
And also subscribe to our YouTube. This is the first time I've ever said subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah, like and subscribe. Thanks,
our parents
Liddy.
are so proud. We have podcasts and YouTube.
Wow. Making it.
Amazing.
Perfect.
This has been Big Swinging Decks by Litquidity with your hosts, Lit and Mark Moran. This is a Red Rock Music podcast. Our executive producer is Red Yoakum. Our associate producer is Emma Martins. For more, follow us on Instagram at Litquidity and at It's Mark Moran, or visit the official website, litquidity.co. So tune in weekly to your Managing Director Secretary's favorite podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.